Book club. Who's ready for book club? Cathy Kirsten and I talk about Judy Blume's Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. We all three read this book when we were young, and we read it again. And boy, is it a good book. It is short, quick read. Took about 3 hours to read it. Probably for about a 10-year-old girl, 9-year-old girl. So many things are covered in this book I forgot about. All I remembered reading was about you must increase your bust. And the girl got her period. It was all, this was the book where the girl gets her period. But there's so much more in this book. There's lots of family dynamics happening. There's questioning religion happening. There's some judgment of others happening. There's having big crushes on boys and being all fluttery-tummied about that. There's just so much in this little cute, little adorable book. And I went to see the movie and I loved the movie. It was really, really fun. So I'm super glad we read this book because it's such a classic. And in our book club discussion, we talked about a lot of other Judy Blume books and why young adults don't read them these days, I don't know. There's so many universal themes in all her book, like Blubber and Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing and Deanie and Forever, which we've book clubbed about too. They all just talk about so many great things that young adults go through even today. It was a great conversation. We ended up also talking about empty nesting and what the future is and the changes we're going through because all of us have teenagers who are either, graduating high school or about to graduate high school. And what does that next phase look like? Lucky for me, all of my friends, I'm so lucky. I don't even know if I want to say it out loud, but all of my friends are happily married, including me. And so it's really interesting to be in this place with this group of women and people where we're all happily married and walking into this next phase of life together. So I'm sure a lot of you aren't at that place in life, but it's really fascinating to just kind of be curious about what's next and what changes are happening in yourself and in your relationships. So we have conversations about that too. I thought it was a great episode. Our next book club book is called Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed. I know there's a series coming out of the same name, but Cathy got this book for Mother's Day from her daughter. So we thought, why not? Let's read it. Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed. So join us for that book. We're not going to probably record that episode till the middle of July. We're all traveling and we all have totally offbeat, not matching up schedules for the next couple months. So you have some time if you want to join the book. You have plenty of time. Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed. Our book club this month was Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume with Cathy and Kirsten. It was a great episode. I hope you enjoy it too. If you haven't bought tickets for Fully Loaded Festival, please go see my husband and lots of other great comics like Lewis Black, Tiffany Haddish, Dave Attell, Shane Gillis, Mark Normand. Lots of great comics and so many more on the Fully Loaded Festival. So get your tickets if you haven't already. It should be a fun thing to do this summer along with reading Tiny Beautiful Things. So thanks for coming back every week and thanks for all your emails. And I hope you enjoyed this episode with Cathy and Kirsten in our book club on Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Hi, ladies. Shall we start?
Hi.
Hi. Nice to see you guys.
Nice to see you. We were just remarking on how hot Leanne is looking.
Oh,
yes.
No, I think my hormone replacement is doing its job. It's definitely changing my voice. Just kidding. I still have this. I lost my voice at the premiere and I've almost got it back, but it's still, I had no voice at all Thursday night when I went to bed. And no voice pretty much at all Friday. So I still feel like I sound like a smoker.
Well, it's just the pressure's on, Cathy. You're going to have to do a lot of talking today because we got to relieve
well,
Leanne's
that's easy peasy for me. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, when I think of you, I think of someone just like sucking the air out of the room with all of her talking.
It's true.
I can't get you. No. Mm-hmm. Cathy's the best.
That's very true.
Well, thank you guys for coming to the premiere. Did you have fun?
Oh my God, it was so much fun.
We had a blast.
Yeah.
I had lost my voice by the end of the night, but I got it back by like noon on Friday. I woke up in the morning and sounded like that. Like I had smoked 6 packs a day for
Yeah.
a long time. I was like, wow, that hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah. It was a good
So-
good time, huh?
Yeah.
It was so much fun. I laughed so hard for so long. And you guys both looked amazing. Like
You did
both of
too.
you. Like
I loved your outfit.
everybody looked amazing. It was
It was nice to go out like that, right?
Yeah.
A fun night out.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking care of my dad.
Fun. Oh my God. He was so sweet.
We took
He
a
was
selfie with your dad.
You
hysterical.
did? I don't have that, do I?
Oh, I'll send
don't
it
think
to
I
you.
have it.
Yeah, I don't even think I've sent it
No,
to
I don't
Cathy.
think you sent
I'm
it
sorry.
to me either. Yeah.
Okay, so my dad got passed from woman to woman to woman.
Yeah, no
to
shit.
woman.
Because I was
I don't
talking to
even-
him and somebody else was like, oh.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
He got passed around, man. He was
Yeah.
adorable. He had so much fun.
That's awesome.
That's one thing about all of our friends, right? Because we're all just pretty regular people and everybody knows my daddy. And he was so nervous about going to this premiere. And I kept saying, you're going to know Cathy and Kirsten and Jeannie Turbo and Sandy. You know Kat a little bit. You Noelle Evans is coming. You haven't seen her in 20 years, but you know her. Plenty of people to talk to. Stephen, Eric,
Yeah.
you know, you'll be fine. And he was. He partied, man.
He partied hardy.
He did.
He had a good time.
He did. And then the next night we were doing this. That Sony wanted us to take a Sprinter van and go and just pop in some theaters where the movie was playing. So my dad goes to the bar. He'll probably kill me for saying this. My dad was drinking Fanta. Okay, Fanta orange. And I see him go to the bar in our house and put an entire bottle of Jack Daniels in his front pocket. And I went, what are you doing? And he was like, nothing, I'm just bringing some stuff. So I watch him, and he's opening his Fanta, the lid of his Fanta, and just pouring Jack Daniels into his Fanta.
God, what a combination.
Right?
Ew. Hey, you need to
But
step it up.
I mean,
God.
it was so gross. But then, you know, he was smart because everybody else was drinking beer and you couldn't really walk in with a beer, but he just had a Fanta. So he was walking in with Fanta, he and Weecho. Weecho came on the tour too. Weecho was our best man in our wedding and came out from Florida as Bert's best friend from childhood. And Weecho and my dad have known each other forever, for 20 years, and they get along so great. So the two of them they hung out at the premiere also, and then they hung out the next day, and then they went on this Sprinter van tour, and yeah, it was funny. My dad might have partied a little hard Friday night, and then Saturday night we had this crawfish boil. No, that wasn't Saturday.
Sunday.
Night. Saturday night
was
we
the-
had
Yeah.
a bunch of people over for dinner, and he partied that night, and then Sunday night was a crawfish boil, and by 8:45 he was like, I think I need to go home. I think we partied him into the ground. He's 74 or 75 years old. But he hung in there. I was really proud of him.
I was so happy to see him. I was so happy to see him.
Yeah.
He loves you.
Did they get off okay?
He's great.
They did. They left today at about noon.
Okay.
They left today at noon. They helped me so much, as they always do. You know, they cannot sit still. They drove out here because the kitchen in this house, when we built the studio house, the kitchen was really screwy. And we bought the house partly to film Something's Burning, but I had to remodel the kitchen. And the kitchen had all these really high-end appliances. They were all GE Monogram appliances. So they're like, you know, the stove is worth like $11,000. It's an 8i stove, huge, gorgeous stove. But I couldn't repurpose it because it had a back and a shelf. And for Something's Burning, I have to have a stove in the center island. So I couldn't really repurpose it. And so my Aunt Carol was here, and she was like, I sure would like those appliances. I'm redoing my kitchen. And I said, well, you're welcome to have them, but I don't know how I would get them to you. And my dad, of course, goes, well, I'll drive out here and get them. We'll just see if Steve, who's their brother, will drive out here too. And we'll just road trip out here and get them. And she was like, well, I would love that. So they road tripped out with a trailer and brought me a couple things. They brought me because, you know, like they all do, people in the South had a couple of fireproof file cabinets laying around. So I just happened to be talking to my daddy, and I was like, I'm trying to figure out how to get a fireproof cabinet for us to store our hard drives in, so that if a fire happened, nothing would happen to him. He goes, well, I got 3 or 4 of those. You want me to bring them to you? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, they're like file cabinets, but they're full of cement. They're not waterproof, but they're definitely fireproof. And I was like, well, yeah, I'll take 2 of those. And he's like, okay, I'll bring it to you when I come to get Carol's.
Amazing.
So, of course, he came out with 2 fireproof 350-pound file cabinets.
Oh, my God.
Not joking. They weigh 350 pounds because they're 4-drawer file cabinets that are just surrounded in cement. He drove those out there, and my grandmother passed away a year and a half ago, and her daughter, my mom's sister, put some stuff aside for me that she didn't want to ship. So they brought that stuff out to me and then loaded up this entire kitchen full of appliances. And while they were here, someone had sent Bert a wood-burning hot tub. So it needed assembly. They assembled it. Perfect. I had a fountain that was broken. They rebuilt it and loaded all this stuff up, including the canoe that was at my house. So they're like the Beverly Hillbillies. When I sent them off, they had this like horse trailer looking thing with a canoe on top. It was hysterical. But my Uncle Steve's favorite restaurant is Lowry's, the prime rib, right? So I took him there last time he was here, and he ate his meal, half of my meal, and half of his wife's meal. And he was like, this is the best food I've ever had in my entire life. This is the best food I've ever had.
He's not a large man.
Like, he weighs 140 pounds,
yeah, exactly.
maybe. So I said to him if he came out, I'd take him to Lowry's. So I took him last night, and I literally, I thought he was going to lick his plate. He was so happy. And then, oh, shoot, I meant to send him with the leftovers, and I forgot. And then we ordered dessert. And Lowry's has a hot fudge sundae, and the fudge is called C.C. Brown's Hot Fudge. And C.C. Brown was an ice cream shop that was built in 1906, and it's their same recipe. Lowry's bought their recipe, and they jar it and sell it, but they also make their hot fudge sundae with like toasted almonds and this hot fudge. So he's like, so why don't we just get some desserts and share? And he goes, I think I just want the sundae. I said, okay, well, you just have the sundae, and then you can still eat the other stuff if you want it. So he's at the end of the table, and the waitress comes with the sundae, and they put it in front of him, and he goes, wow, wow. He was so excited. He ate the whole thing, and I bought him 6 jars of hot fudge to take home with him. But my Uncle Steve is so stoic. Like he's not like my dad. He's not a chit chatter. He's not unfriendly. He's just not a talker. He's just quiet and just mills around. For him to go, wow, was like the biggest reaction I've seen from him maybe my entire life. It was adorable. So yeah, I got him 6 jars of C.C. Brown's hot fudge, and he drove off into the sunset with that canoe strapped to the roof. Headed to the John Wayne Museum in Fort Worth, Texas. That's where they're headed.
Wow.
Isn't that funny?
That's awesome.
I mean, my dad and I were driving home the other day from the studio, and he said, I can't believe you grew up the way you grew up and you live here and you're happy. I don't know how those two things can coexist because they're so different. And he's right. I think about that a lot. Like, how did I grow up the way I grew up? And I'm happy here because I was so happy in my hometown until I got to be an adult. And as an adult, I was like, there's no one to date. And I have like 3 options of guys. I'm going to have to really, it just didn't fit. And I think about that from time to time, how juxtaposed the 2 parts of my life were my childhood and my adulthood.
You're a flexible person, though. You can exist in both of those spaces still.
I still do very much exist in both spaces. You're right about that. I'm perfectly at home in Wedowee when we go to the lake, and in Bowden when I go home, and I still don't ever meet a stranger. I still don't think the same thing I've always thought about everybody in Bowden, that they're all really good people. And thank you for saying that. I think that's true. I do coexist, or I exist easily in both places. But it is weird to think about that the people that strap that canoe to that trailer is, I get it totally.
Yeah.
And I still at the same time stand outside of it and go, that is ridiculous. I can't believe that they are driving that down the street. And I'm actually really proud of it. You know, I watch them move around this property and fix this and tinker on that and figure out how to, you know, what do you call it? Tetris everything into this tiny trailer. They got an entire kitchen in a very small trailer. The whole kitchen plus a smoker. Like, plus like a big heater that I don't know. Just watching them figure it out, it makes me so proud. Because you think about Armageddon, that's where I'd want to be, is with those two people in Armageddon, because we would eat and we would be warm and we would not get sick from water because they know how to do all that shit. The rest of us would be dead. I'm just going to somehow make my way the 2,800 miles back to Bowden if we ever have Armageddon, because we'll be just fine. My Uncle Steve also brought me 20 pounds of whole hog sausage on the way. Did you have the sausage when we were in Wedowee? I don't know if we had any.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole.
Yeah.
So good. So I have 20 pounds of it.
Amazing.
If you need
That's
any
a lot.
sausage.
20 pounds. Wow.
I'm going to be eating sausage till I'm 80. But it's delicious. It was very sweet.
That is sweet.
So anyway, that's that. Should we talk about our book?
Very nice.
Have any of you seen this movie?
No,
I still haven't seen the movie.
I forgot that it came out. I feel like it was a blip. And if you didn't see it that weekend, it was out of my radar. But
It was a blip. And unfortunately, that's the way movies are working these days. It's really a shame.
Yeah.
I can say, looking at the numbers from The Machine, it's number 5 at the box office.
that's great.
It's wonderful. But we're up against The Little Mermaid, Fast and Furious 10,
Oh my God.
Oh, that came out?
Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's...
and Super Mario Brothers. That's the top 4, I think, in that order.
Yeah.
So then, Little Mermaid earned $96 million. So it's tough competition. I think it's hard for Hollywood to look at this new model with a different expectation, right? Or like Renfield, the vampire movie, was out for that second. We went to see it.
You're right. It was only out for a heartbeat.
One
and then it was
second.
gone. Yeah.
Because it didn't do the numbers they wanted it to do. Because they don't
was
leave
so
it long
fun.
enough. It was so
Right?
fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But back in the day, a movie would be in a movie theater 6 weeks, 8
Yeah,
weeks.
you're right.
So you had time to go see it.
Yes.
So if you have plans on Memorial Day weekend and you didn't get to see The Machine, obviously it's going to be here a couple weeks more. But if they don't just keep advertising it, I feel like they advertise movies until it's out and then they stop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of advertising for the next 2 or 3 weeks and giving people an opportunity to go, they don't give the public an opportunity to support something.
Yeah,
like
and you need to have
Renfield.
time
Yeah.
for that, like, word of mouth.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
sometimes I'm not very swayed by the commercials, but if a friend says, "Oh my God, you've got to see this,"
Yeah.
and then you don't have a chance to go see it because it's already gone.
Right. Well, Are You There, God? It's me. I did see the movie, and we can talk about the movie too, as well as the book. But I highly recommend you watch it. You stream it.
Was it true to the book?
It was pretty damn close.
Yeah.
And it was wonderfully cast, and I was giddy the whole time I was in the movie theater. I was just giddy. I watched it before I finished the book. Caveat, I finished the book a couple weeks ago, and an entire life has happened since I finished this book.
I know, right?
So we
I
may be
agree.
talking about
Yeah.
something, and I may go, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, we were
So
supposed to be
I apologize.
podcasting this a couple weeks ago, and
Right.
then everything blew up for everybody. And
Yes, for
it was
everybody.
just too much.
We all had so much shit going on that we just couldn't get it done. Your son moved back, and you got a graduation coming up. I had a premiere, and family in town. I had 5 house guests at once. So the last 3 left today. No, wait, did I have 6? No, I had 5. 5 at once. It was a lot,
Yeah,
regardless.
it's a lot.
So I apologize if we forget something, but what did you think about this book? Had you read it as a middle schooler? Yes, you had.
Absolutely.
You did not.
No,
You
I
did?
did. Oh,
you did.
absolutely.
It was forever.
Yes,
I
it was
don't know.
forever. I had
feel like
but this I
everybody read this.
you know what? Yes, I was saying that. I was like, I don't know anyone our age who didn't read this book.
Yeah.
Me neither.
But
Yeah, and the people who didn't read forever, it's because their parents wouldn't let them. For the most part, it was like,
Probably.
yeah,
Probably.
'cause that was like a little racy. But yeah, it was. I mean, in some ways, it was like, oh yeah, I'm reading it. Yeah, it's exactly what I remember.
that's so funny. I did not remember any of it.
I remembered zero.
Zero.
I remembered we must.
Oh,
We
yeah,
must.
that- okay,
We
that-
must increased our
Yeah.
bus.
Yes, that's the only part I remembered.
I think
but
I didn't remember anything ahead of time except for we must.
I didn't remember that until it happened. Then I was like, oh my God, I totally remember this. But
But like when after things happen, oh, okay, yeah, I remember this. Yeah, I remember this. But what was interesting to me is now having kids who are older than these characters, it sort of spoke to what a different time that was. Like, they're making such a big deal that they're invited to a party with dinner.
I know.
And like the dinner was like hot dogs or whatever.
right?
So it wasn't like
In the basement.
yeah, I thought it was going to be like a steak dinner or something, like some,
Yeah.
it wasn't that big a deal, but it was like, oh my God. And you were invited. Like, it was just such a big deal. And I feel like all of our kids had been to this party when they were like 5.
Yeah.
Like, they've been to 100 of these parties
Yeah.
by now. And so it was just like very innocent. Like a lot of the firsts, I was like, how old are these kids again? Oh my God, they're like 11 and 12. And I'm like, oh boy. It made me a little sad for like what our kids have lost in terms of just the wow factor, that these kids are like, wow, a party with dinner.
All right.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't see it that way at all. I was like, oh, this is like going to your first like bat mitzvah or whatever. Like, that's sort of what I equated it to. Like, obviously it's not the dinner, but I was like, this actually, I felt held up better than Forever did. Like, I thought it was more translatable to this generation, even though it's ridiculously innocent. But I don't know. I thought 10-year-olds could absolutely read this and be okay with it. Yeah. 11, maybe. But
Yeah.
10-year-olds are having their period. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's not so shocking to say 10, but I don't know.
You know what I remember people telling me back in the day was this was a book about a girl who gets her period. And when I read it this time, I was like, it's a book about a lot more than that.
Yeah.
I forgot that the period happened in this book.
Yeah.
That's all I remembered about the book.
Oh, really?
Me too. It was the boobs and the period.
I remember
Yeah,
the
that it was
boobs,
like the
but-
period book, and it was like, oh my God, yeah, and it was about so much more.
Yeah, it was about religion. It was about
Yeah.
family dynamics. It was
Yeah.
about friend
Friendships,
dynamics.
yeah.
It was
Figuring
about
out who you
liking a
are.
boy.
Yeah.
It was about your period. It was about developing at a different rate than your friends. It was about
Just figuring out who you are.
Yeah. It was about a relationship to a teacher that was good. There's a lot going on in this. Grandma, multi-generational.
And judgment, like their judgment to that girl who was so developed and is, she goes behind the
I know,
the
right?
gas station or whatever. She goes behind the A&P and she's making out with all these boys, and she's, the teacher obviously likes her. Like that. I mean, it's so gross.
It's
like
so
the
gross.
teacher has a sexual crush on this 11-year-old. He didn't.
No.
Of course
that's
he
what they
didn't.
think.
But yes, and the drama that swirls. Oh my God. I did relate to that. I remembered when I was in 7th grade in shop, everybody was talking about what a perv the shop teacher was. Oh, he's such a perv. And like perv was like the number one word
Yep.
from like middle school. And I remember being in shop class and going like, he seems just like a normal dude. Like, he's just a guy I didn't notice him looking at any of the girls or whatever. I
Right.
was like, what, does he not like any of the girls in our class?
Right.
I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. I even knew it at the time that it was like, this is just drama. That poor man.
There was drama like that in my middle school too. I related to a lot of that. I went to, let's see, until 6th grade, I was in a private school that had 50 students from kindergarten to the 6th grade.
Oh my God.
It was a tiny school, like they had combined grades, it was really small. And then my mom moved us into a suburb that had 800 students in 3 grades. So a huge difference, right? There was no drama really in the little school I was in. The drama was still very young. It was like jockeying for who gets the ball in kickball, like that. And then I jumped into this pool of hormones, right? I was there 7th and 8th grade. And some of the stuff that happened in this book, I remember happening. And we were a little older than these girls, or were we? It's like 7th grade.
Yeah.
And like there was this rumor, then this one girl let her dog lick her down there. And it was everywhere. And she was a pariah. And I just kept going, why? Why would that happen? That was stupid. I don't understand why. I didn't get it. So it's like, I don't get it. Why? But I was reading this and I went, oh my God, I remember that happened to that girl. And there was weeks where no one talked to her. And she was more developed. She had big boobs. Yeah. She was very curvy. She was beautiful, like really beautiful. And she was really popular. And then this terrible rumor, which is so ridiculous. That's not even
So
real.
absurd.
It's like saying that so-and-so screwed a horse. It's not going to happen. But I remembered that when I was reading this book. I was like, oh my God, that poor girl that she had to deal with that. I I was never a gossiper. I never got into that drama, but other people in my peripheral circle were very into that drama. And I remember watching. I remember playing Spin the Bottle. Did you guys ever play Spin the Bottle?
Yes, I absolutely. That was the part that I related to. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember what my friend's room looked like. And I'm like, I remember I could visualize all the different people that were sitting around that and feeling like horrified. Oh my God, what is going to happen? What is going to be asked of me? I don't think anything untoward happened. Nobody even kissed or anything, but there was this like prospect that something big could happen.
Right? No one even kissed?
Well, I don't know. I think people went into a closet, like did the like 2 minutes in a closet, but I don't think anything really happened. I think everybody was just too awkward. And we're just like kind of, okay, here we are. Wait it out.
You guys were lame. So lame. We played Spin the Bottle and we definitely kissed. Yeah, but I don't remember. I remember playing it, but I don't remember. Oh, I do remember. I totally remember who I kissed. I had a big crush on him too. He was adorable. He was shorter than me and I was pretty short. Yeah, I related to that too. And the rumors is just it's so mean, you know?
It's so mean. I hear about it now in the high school and I just gag at it. It's like, guys, think this through. Use your critical thinking skills.
Right.
Like, does this sound realistic? Does this sound like something that's actually happening? Oh, think about, like, consider the source. Oh, who's telling you this rumor? Oh, well, you know what? She's constantly telling different rumors. You know, it sounds like she's the problem.
Right?
So annoying.
It is annoying. I really liked her exploration of religion in this book.
I did not remember that from when I was a kid.
Remember that
Clearly,
either.
I tuned that part out.
I didn't remember it at all. I was really surprised.
I was like, let's just get to the kissing and the we must increase our bust.
Right. Did you guys do that exercise?
Oh,
I
God,
100% did
Yeah.
it.
100%.
Like every day.
Yes. Me too.
Yes, religiously.
Well, it worked for one of us.
Yeah.
It worked for me. For sure.
I remember having a conversation with my mom when I was younger because I was not like an early developer. And my mom is really busty. And she talked about how humiliating it was to be the girl who developed early and how sexualized she felt and how just humiliated she felt. And she said, oh, I spent all of my school years carrying books in front of my chest.
That's so hard.
Yeah. So sad.
I think it is hard. I think Isla struggled a little bit with like getting like armpit hair early and what she determined to be early. I don't know that it's necessarily early, but it is. It makes you feel awkward. And
I was going to say, I don't think that's all that different these days. Like, I don't think we've grown from when your mom went through it, you know? I think girls are still mortified. And that's so sad. Like, you can't control that, you know? And I don't know.
I think that's the hard thing about that age is that it's nonstop change. It's like, you know, the microcosm of that, I'm at 51 dealing with the change of like my daughter about to graduate or whatever. You guys just went through this, that it's like any change is hard, you know, like getting a new teacher, like starting a new school year is hard for them. And so to have all of these additional things changing and the hormones, it's just big. I thought it was interesting how they handled hormones in here too, that suddenly she bursts into tears. I never used to burst into tears. And
right. But it happens. That's exactly how it happens, right? It's such a normalizing book, right? It's so normalizing for anybody who reads this book as a 10-year-old or something, where to go, oh, okay, thank God. This is just kind of how it works. Some of it really stinks, but it is. At least if you know this is kind of how it works, you can feel better about it, maybe. Today's Wife of the Party is brought to you by Warby Parker. I lose glasses. I just lose them. I lose them. My husband loses them. You know, it's a bummer when you lose your glasses because they're so expensive and hard to replace. And there's, you know, you got to go shop for frames and it's just becomes so complicated, something that's such a necessity as a pair of eyeglasses. But Warby Parker makes that whole process easier and more affordable. Warby Parker offers everything you need for happier eyes: eyeglasses, sunglasses, contact lenses, and eye exams. And you can shop them online or in stores. Glasses start at $95, including prescription lenses. That's why I have multiple pairs of Warby Parkers, because they're $95. I can leave one in my bedroom, I can leave one in my living room, and then I'm never without glasses. You can try Warby Parker's free home try-on program. Order 5 pairs of glasses to try at home for free. There's no obligation to buy. It ships for free and includes a prepaid return shipping label. Try 5 pairs of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/wife. And you can add a pair and save. Get 15% off when you purchase 2 or more pairs of prescription eyeglasses or sunglasses. And if you prefer to shop in stores, Warby Parker has 190 retail locations throughout the U.S. Try 5 pairs of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/wife. Today's Wife of the Party is brought to you by Care Of. This is a new sponsor that I'm really excited about. I've been trying very hard to take better care of myself, inside, outside, upside down, every way possible. And vitamins and health supplements have always been part of my routine. I've always taken vitamins, and I've recently started taking lots of supplements to help with my gut health. Care Of can make taking better care of yourself super easy for you. Just go to takecareof.com and take their quiz. It's a personal quiz about what are your goals for health? Is it fitness? Is it skincare? What's your goal for your health care? Take the quiz and they'll match your goals with the supplements that will help you be the best supported for your goals, which was so easy. It took me less than 5 minutes, and then they all just show up at your door. It could not be more convenient to take better care of yourself. For 50% off your first Care Of order, go to takecareof.com and enter code WIFE50. Again, for 50% off your first Care Of order, go to takecareof.com and enter code WIFE50 for 50% off your first order. But the religion part, what'd you think about how she dealt with Judy Blume, how she dealt with the religion piece in it? What do you think was her point or her reason for doing that? You could have had your whole middle school life exposed without dealing with religion, don't you think?
Yeah, and back in a time, like, I don't know when this book was written, but
I think it was 1977.
I don't think there was a lot of religious exploration going on. You know, you were brought up with whatever you were brought up with, and that's what you knew. Mm-hmm. Maybe that was just my world, which is very like insular, but I think a lot of people weren't like out testing religion or whatnot. So I don't know. It was pretty interesting that she went down that road. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that was about, like where she was in her life that made her explore that, but I thought it was pretty cool, actually, to know that like there's even different religions out there. Growing up, I didn't know that.
No, I didn't either. I thought it was a really powerful choice. Mm-hmm. I don't think Judy Blume gets enough credit for what she's done to broaden really it's young girls, let's face it, a lot of boys are reading Judy Blume. But from our generation, I don't know why it's not more prevalent in the newer generations, you know, like the books that kids read generation after generation, because of that. It's so normalizing for people's experience. And then even deeper to go into this religious piece, and even with Forever, you know, as much as some of that I agree with you, doesn't translate to today, a lot of it at the base really does, of like just needing to be with this other person, and the first sexual experiences that was in Forever are so universal. And this author, what a brave person in the 70s to just kind of develop these stories that are so very honest. You know, they're just really honest.
Yeah.
And I loved that she brought that religious piece up, because it normalizes different religions, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what it did, is it made Judaism and Christianity both okay. You know, why do you have to choose per se? And if one's not better than the other, I thought it was really great that she did that. It was very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. What else did Judy Blume write? Freckle Juice?
Freckle Juice, Blubber.
What's that? Oh, Blubber. That's right. I remember that one.
Oh, Blubber. Break my heart.
Yeah.
Deanie, that's right. Wasn't that about eating disorder?
I
thought it was about
I remember
She had
that.
scoliosis.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's right. Wow. What an amazing person that wrote about these topics.
She's still alive.
Yes, she is.
She is.
The movie was delightful. I loved seeing these characters come to life. And I think that the casting of it was so good. It was delicious. I loved every minute of it. I recommend you watch it, maybe with your daughter, just to get a kick out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fun. Isla loved it. She had a blast watching it too. It was really, really fun. What'd you think about the mom and dad in this role?
I remember there was one point in the book when I was irritated at the dad. The dad was being really hard on the mom about, okay, so the mom's parents had cut her off when she married a Jewish man.
Mm-hmm.
And she hasn't seen them for 14 years. They've never met their granddaughter. And the parents they move. She sends a Christmas card, so now her parents have her address. I was disappointed at the husband's reaction because he was really hard on her. How could you let them know where we live? Whatever. I mean, it's her parents.
Yeah.
It's her parents. And even though they did not behave well and throughout the entire book, still, it's her parents. Like, I thought that was a sort of insult to injury that he was coming down on her saying, how could you do this? Now they know where we live and that. And it's like, well, it's her parents. Like, let her do what she wants. And she was conflicted.
Yeah.
It's not that she thought that they were great people. It's just that they were the only parents that she had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think when you're rejected by somebody just for being who you are, it's really hard to accept that. So I don't know.
No,
I didn't see him as being that harsh. Like,
no, I understand why he didn't like them. I just thought that it was like he directed all of his anger at his wife instead of at, remember, we hate these people.
Yeah.
They were terrible people. No.
Yeah.
yeah.
Weren't a good reflection, were they,
No.
of good Christians. Good Christians love everybody. That's what you're supposed to do. You be Christ-like, right?
I think
Christ-like
it is
everybody.
somewhat like indicative of who people are, though, right? Like that is pretty real and spot on. There are some people who just choose religion over their family, right? So I thought it was kind of interesting that she chose that as opposed to like making it all warm and fuzzy at the end. Oh, now we accept you. You know, like they still were incredibly convicted in their religious beliefs and were like, sorry, peace out.
Yeah. Crazy. That's the good thing.
Terrible. Like,
Well, that's the dynamic piece of her writing, right?
Yeah.
Forever didn't really have a happy ending. It did sort of, but not really. I mean, it wasn't like, and they lived together forever.
Right.
yeah.
No, they broke up.
Right.
And that's heartbreak. Even when you're the one breaking up, it's heartbreak. And this the same, right?
It's a little more real.
Perfect. It is
Than
very
the happy
real.
ending that you get in a book, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's very cool that I love her as an author.
Yeah.
I did not remember anything about this book except you must increase your bust. And then when I read it again, I was like, wow, it's so dynamic. There's so many things that her relationship with her grandmother was so fun, you know, what a character she was and how supportive she was as a grandmother. It's a beautiful thing to see. And I say that in that I think sometimes kids don't see their grandparents as a support like this grandmother was, where grandparents would love to be that for you. It may not be their instinct to say, hey, I bought us tickets to Lincoln Center, let's go. But I don't think very many grandparents would be like, no, I don't want to be supportive or be in your life in that way, you know?
right.
Like my kids each have very specific connections with all their grandparents, but Georgia and my dad have always been really, really super connected. And when Georgia went to school, I said to her, you know, you have all three grandparents. They would do anything in the world for you. I know you have this really kind of special connection with Papa J. Use it. Don't think it's not there. Use it. If you're homesick, you don't have to call me. You can call him. You can call Nana and Papa. You know, you can call your aunts. Remember, you have a lot of people who would help you. And she did. She called Cotty a lot and she called my dad a lot. I don't know why she chose those two people of the many people she has as a resource, but she did. And I don't, maybe she would have done it if I'd never said anything to her, but I just wanted to make sure it was in the front of her brain that she has that back. It doesn't
It's a
have
smart
to be
thing
us.
to remind her of that.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we just sort of assume that it's like, yeah, they have all these loving people around them, but I think their go-to is mom a lot of the time, which is fine. And like, we want to be there for them. But I think that was really smart. That was a good parenting move.
Well, thank you. My thought process was this. She's trying to be autonomous. So she doesn't want to reach to me. She doesn't want to hear from me. But reaching to my dad is not reaching for help. It's reaching for a connection. And what she really needs from me probably is a connection. But what comes with that is, how are your grades? Are you eating? Are you sleeping? Are you taking care of yourself? Did you do this? Did you do that? Which I don't really do, but I think that would be what she would expect to hear from me. Whereas my dad, and she just shoot the shit, you know? And I do that with her too. But that mother-daughter, and maybe mother-son, I don't know, but I would imagine it's just different when you call your parent.
No, totally.
You know, it's totally different. And I think they want to be these big, brave, independent people. And if they're calling mommy, they're definitely not big, brave, and independent. But calling a grandparent is more like calling a charity case, you know, just helping my grandpa out. But really what I'm getting in return is that connection that I needed.
Yeah, but I think it's also like, it's a relationship that goes both ways, that for both for the grandparents and for the grandchild, that it's so uncomplicated that they don't have to discipline them. They don't have to feel disciplined by them, or, you know, whatever the things, that it's just like, it can just be like what it is. It can just be like a happy thing, instead of, there's not like money involved. Like, have you burned through all the money that we sent with you? There's not like all of the responsibility involved in the same way.
Yeah, just less complicated. Well, she's done that. She's kept up with my dad. They text a lot, and then they call each other a lot this year. It's been really cool for both of them. And then for Cotty also. Cotty called me once a few months back. She was like, I think I'm George's best friend. Just want to let you know. I was like, get in line. I think there's 2 or 3 of you floating around here, but okay. I'm glad to know she's calling you. But I like that she represented that relationship in this book, because maybe some little girl reading the book would go, oh, wait a minute, I have a really cool grandma. You know, oh, wait, I have that connection with my grandpa. Okay. It's good to, I don't know, just be made aware. I don't know. I liked the book a lot.
Yeah, I did too.
It was fun.
It was fun rereading it. I didn't actually read it. I listened to it as an audiobook, but it was very fun.
The child that was reading it, or the childlike voice that was reading it, I could not focus on it.
I understand that, but I got through it.
That's good.
It was only 3 hours, so it wasn't. It was not taxing. That's for sure. But I understand that voice was not.
I couldn't do it.
The most
I tried
pleasant.
it for like 4 chapters. And at the end of the 4th chapter, I went, I have no idea what this woman has said. So I just started over and read it. And I read it read so fast.
Yeah.
That I was like, I could just bang it out.
Yeah.
In 3 hours. But because I was hoping, 2 trips to and from school, and I got the book done, and I just couldn't do it, man. The whole time I was like, I got to pick up laundry detergent, and I make sure I call this guy and ask him about my checkbook, and oh shit, I'm supposed to be reading a book, so I just couldn't get it done.
Oh, that's funny.
Anything else we need to say about this book? It's a short book club. I feel like it's
a short book.
Yeah,
it is a short book. Yeah,
but there's a lot happening in this book.
Yeah,
it was like meaty. It was short but meaty. There's just so many different things going on.
I think bottom line is, make your kids read Judy Blume.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why that is not. I don't know why kids don't read this these days, but they should.
Is it too simple?
Like, all of them.
I don't know. I remember.
It's not simple, though.
I read
no, it's
Tales
not.
of a 4th Grade Nothing, that series to my kids when they were younger. That's also Judy Blume. And I remember the thing that blew my mind was the kid going to Central Park with his friend, because it was set in New York, and they lived in New York, going to Central Park alone, and like just walking alone in New York, and like living in New York, and just having lived in New York, I was like, oh my God, this kid is too young to do this. And then they're like watching, I think, the 2-year-old brother in the park, and the brother, Fudge, the mischievous lead character, he falls off of like those big boulders. He falls and like busts open his lip or something. And the parents are like, well, you should have been taking better care of him. And I was like, oh my God, they're alone. They're in the middle of Central Park, these 2 little kids alone. And I was like, what are you doing? It was just, yeah, that was a generational thing, I guess. But also, I guess, a big city thing. If we lived in New York, maybe our kids would be.
I doubt it. I think it's a generational thing. I know I had to read.
I would think growing up in New York, when we were growing up, that absolutely happened.
Oh, 100%.
Kids went to the Central Park all the time.
All by yourself.
For reading it to my kids in the in 2010, I was like, oh my God.
A different context once you're a parent. Like there's a whole...
But our parents would have done that.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Our parents would have said, go to the park, come back at 4.
Definitively.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Come home when the streetlights are on. That was my curfew.
Yeah.
Like most of my life.
We didn't have street lights. We'd come home when the lightning bugs came out. That's when we came home. When the lightning bugs come out.
Same thing as the street lights. Same time.
And then we get busy catching lightning bugs, and then you're late, and then you're in trouble. That's crazy that they would just let that.
Yeah.
I was reading Isla's English teacher had a book club for her class. They were supposed to read The Joy Luck Club as a whole novel. And they ended up running out of time because I think they spent a lot more time on The Great Gatsby than she had anticipated. So what she did was she broke the book. It's about 4 mother-daughter couples. And she broke the book into 4 groups. And each group with their mom read about one mother-daughter. And then we all came in and discussed. What a great idea, right?
Yeah.
Came in and discussed our mother-daughter pair with a small group and then discussed the whole book and kind of how it was interwoven with the whole group. And then discussed this is such a great English teacher. And then had a discussion about our own mother-daughter patterns or in kind of family rituals that kind of, a lot of The Joy Luck Club is about. Some, not a lot of it, but there's a lot of family rituals in it. But we read Anne May and what was her name? Rose. And in the book, Anne May was watching, she was 10 and she was watching her 4-year-old brother who fell off into the sea and drowned. And she watched him fall and she was too far away to run and froze and just couldn't move and knew that he had fallen. And the dad was closer to the son than she was and she just couldn't, she was paralyzed. And he drowned and they lost him forever. And I was the same. I was like, who leaves a 10-year-old to watch a 4-year-old who's playing on a boulder on the edge of the sea? What are you, stupid? You're right there next to him. What's wrong with you? Dad was fishing. The mom was like having a picnic. And I had the same reaction. I was like, that would never happen. I would never let a 10-year-old watch a 4-year-old literally like walking on the rocks next to this rough sea. It's one thing to walk on the beach with a 10-year-old, but as it was described, I was like, this doesn't sound very safe. And then he was gone. I was like, oh shit. And then they were blaming her. Why weren't you watching him? That was crazy. Crazy. Well, I think that is our takeaway, right? If you have a young daughter, she should be reading Judy Blume.
Yeah.
And they could probably age down a bit because I read this. No, I probably read this book in like 5th grade.
Yeah, I remember reading all of these things. I read Forever when I was in 6th grade.
I was in middle school for sure. With Forever, I was in middle school.
Yeah, I think most of the younger literature is sort of written for the slightly younger than the main characters are.
Right. I think you're right. Okay. Well, watch the movie. It was really fun. Just watch it with your daughters.
It's got to be streaming at some point.
I'm sure it's already streaming.
Yeah.
It's been gone from the movie theater. I mean, I watched it like in April, didn't I? I don't know.
It was a while ago. Before our trip. You definitely watched it before.
We had a trip. Our trip. I was like, we went
somewhere. Our Girl Scout trip.
Yes. Yeah, it was before that. It was the weekend before that. That was the first weekend in May.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right.
Second week in May.
That
happened.
No, that was the end of April.
Yeah, it was the last weekend in April.
Yes.
So it was April. Yeah, the movie was
mid-April that you probably saw this.
What? I mean, that seems like 4 years ago.
It does feel like we've all lived a lifetime since then.
And I just realized right now, in this moment, I don't know what our next book's going to be. Haven't even thought about it. Our next book club book. So I hope you guys came with something.
Actually, I don't know. Okay, so my daughter gave me a book for Mother's Day that I know nothing about, but I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting.
What is it?
I can't remember. It's in my purse.
Well, I'm glad that Cathy brought something because I'm bringing nothing to the table
I've got
whatsoever.
nothing. I literally just this exact moment went, oh, I don't have
Okay,
anything.
well, I don't know how good it is. It's called Tiny Beautiful Things, and it's
there's a TV show about that now.
it's coming out on Hulu.
Yeah.
And I think it's about like it's advice from Dear Sugar. So I feel like each chapter is almost like, a Dear Abby kind of thing or something like that.
Oh, yeah, because Cheryl Strayed has this, it's like a podcast, or it might be a column that turned into a podcast called Dear Sugar, where she and somebody else
writes
give
in
advice.
and then she responds is what it looks like. So each chapter is just like a story and a response. I don't know anything about that beyond this, but
It's interesting. I don't know that a book's been written like that before. Do you?
No, I'm definitely willing to read it and also I brought nothing else to the table. So
I brought nothing too. So look what we're reading. Tiny Beautiful Things.
There you go. I know nothing about it other than what I just said. So
Is it critically acclaimed? Because that really matters.
how the hell do I know? It's
well, it matters
it's
to
from
us
Reese's
since-
Book Club. So there you go.
Okay. I like Reese's Book Club. Okay.
So, and it's 20% off at Target.
And it's 20% off at Target. Well, at least she was frugal in her Mother's Day gift.
With my credit card. Yeah.
All right. I feel your pain.
I'm just saying.
I know Isla last night went shopping and she goes, do you think Georgia would like these Crocs? And I went, I don't know why. She's like, I was thinking about buying them for her birthday. And I went, on Amazon with my credit card.
Yeah.
She goes, well, yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of how it works, right?
Okay. Tiny Beautiful Things. Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
It doesn't look too long.
I don't think it's that long.
Well, it's going to be
It is.
like July because I'm leaving in 2 weeks.
387 pages.
Jesus
Sorry.
fucking Christ. It's going to be July.
and we're going to be gone for most of July.
Okay. So August. Where are you going in July?
So we have a summer to read it.
We had Camille has orientation in college, and we're going back there and to see family, and then we're going to go to Canada to see my family, and maybe not all of July, but a good chunk of July.
Okay. So then we don't need to start reading it now. What?
We're gone the good beginning portion of August.
So we'll read
Now that
this
you're
in
saying that,
October.
I'm like, wait a minute.
We're back we'll be back in late July.
All right. So maybe last week in July.
We'll figure it out.
We'll
It'll be a
pencil us
beach
in
read and-
for the last week in July. How about that? When do you leave for your Newport?
No idea. Last week of July.
How funny.
But I think it may actually be the 30th.
Okay.
Like it's super late July.
Well, I'm back the 17th. So do you know
We
when
have
you're
time.
back?
I do not.
Okay. I'll have Christine reach out to you guys and let's really pencil it in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because if
that's
not,
smart.
it'll be October.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's just make it happen
I
for
need a
that
deadline.
1 minute
Yes.
between everybody's travels.
Yeah.
And then we can. Well, that's good. You're going back to Newport. That's
Yeah,
good.
going to Newport. And then the day after we get back, we're going to move Max into his apartment.
Got it.
I'm like, seriously?
Wowza.
Yeah.
Well, Georgia doesn't move in to her college because it's a quarterly college until late September. But she gets her house in the middle of July.
Mm-hmm.
So she and her sister are talking about road tripping to move her in the middle of July before Isla goes back to school.
They
Just
should
hang
bring
out.
a canoe on their car.
Right? And they could. Well, I just lost my canoe, so that's over. But yeah, and they're going to hang out for a couple days a week and then fly back. And Georgia will leave her car there. Although now that I'm thinking about that, then Georgia will be here for another month and a half without a car. Oh, no, to be determined.
The amount of moving parts
to be determined.
I know. We're trying to figure out the same thing.
I got really emotional today because every year of my children's lives, I've sung a song on the last day of school. Every year it's the same song. It's the dumbest song. And it's how I wake them up in the morning for the last day of school. And last day of school's tomorrow for Isla. So I was like, I get to sing the last day of school song tomorrow. And then I went, I only get to sing that one more time. Only have one more last day of school. And I got really emotional about it. And she goes, you can still sing it when I'm in college. And I went, oh, like that's cool. Like I'm going to call you at college and go, last day of school.
Oh my God.
I insist that you do that. You should
do that.
You should
totally.
do that for both of them.
Max's last day of school, like we always go to Baskin Robbins. That's what my kids love. And I called him. I was like, want to go to Baskin Robbins? Like clearly we could not, but you should do it. 100%. You should still do it.
You can still call Georgia and sing the last day of school song.
I can.
She'll love it.
I'm so emotional too. We were at Target yesterday. Richard had to pick up a birthday card for his godmother, and I was looking at the graduation cards for my daughter, but also my 2 nieces. And Richard was like, okay, I'll meet you in graduation cards. And he came back and I had this pile of cards and I was just crying. Oh, no. And he's like, what's wrong? What happened? And I'm like, it's just too much.
It's very bizarre. I have to say, I was talking to her about this before you came in. I think my need to survive is starting to take over a little bit, and partly my hormone replacement therapy is that I've started to like date my husband again. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Where I'm like getting dressed up to kind of impress him, sort of. Not that he needs to be impressed, but I'm just mindful of that space in a new way. And I wonder if it's because I'm a year out from it just being me and him. Mm-hmm. And I need it to be solid so that I'm not trying to figure this out after Isla's gone. I wonder what's going on. I think it's a combination of a few things. I mean, progesterone is supposedly makes you like in love, sort of. It's like a happy, lovey hormone. And my progesterone was all screwed up from COVID and my estrogen and my testosterone and everything else. But I wonder if it's part that and part just the realization that I've got to prepare for the next phase. I'm such a preparation, survival-minded person. But it's been really interesting. I wonder what it would feel like to look forward and not be interested in that person that you are now walking to this next chapter of life, because this last chapter with our kids has been so amazing and fun and fulfilling and rich and enriching that you could look ahead, and if you didn't like or enjoy the person you were with, it could be very ominous. I would imagine it would be very...
Absolutely. That totally resonates for me. We're totally in a good place, like dating more too, Richard and I. And I think it is that it's that planner. It also resonates because I was on the parent group for my daughter's college. And this woman was talking about her child being on academic probation. Is suspended, but it's for academic reasons, not for, and was going through the reasons and saying, just as we were on the verge of diagnosing a learning disability at the end of high school, my husband and I got divorced. And I was like, that totally, that's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Looking forward to the next chapter and going, oh, do I see myself with this person? And if you do, then you're hunkering down and like dating again. And if you don't, then that's when people are getting divorced.
Yeah. It's like a reinvestment in what you have. It's like, refining your house. Not to be so pragmatic about it, but I have been observing myself as my feelings are changing and shifting with my relationship, right? Because I've never been not happy with Bert. I've never been unhappy. I've never been unfulfilled. But something is definitely different where I'm doing things like, let's get in the hot tub tonight, where I'm almost going like, who said that? Did I say that? Wait, what? In the past, I'd be like, I do not have time to get in the hot tub. Now I got to take a shower. I mean, you got to have to do all this shit for the kids. And no, it's too much trouble. Where it's my idea now. And I don't know. I find it very fascinating that is happening. It just fascinates me. I think it's wonderful. It's great. But the why of it, I'm such a curious person. I go, why is that happening? It must be about survival or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And just making space for each other. Like you have time to make space for each other because the kids, even the ones that are still at home. I mean, Richard and I joke that we are preparing to be empty nesters. We do have a daughter who still has 3 more years of high school, but she's so invested in her friends, her friendships, and she's doing all the developmental things like halfway out the door. So we do have more time for one another because we don't have as much FaceTime with them.
Yeah. Not as much obligation. Obligation not meaning in a bad way. Just
no, totally. But it's like they're doing some of their laundry and they're doing more. So
Yeah, 100%. My kid driving, she's like gone more. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like we're at the empty nester stage, even though we still have a kid at home, you know? Yeah. It's very different.
Have you felt any of that? Because she did. She said she did. Have you felt any of that with Stephen?
A little bit. I mean, because all of a sudden we're looking around and we're like, wow, it's just the two of us. Yeah. Like, what do we do? Yeah. Like, and now we have like, you know, with the kid who's driving and doing whatever and one who's gone, you're like, I don't have to be home at a specific time. If we decide to go to dinner at 9 or see a 9 p.m. movie, doesn't matter. Like everyone's taken care of. We have the luxury to go do whatever, whenever we want. So it's been really interesting to like, be like, oh, hi, it's you.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like sometimes we've had our head buried a little bit in the parenting phase, and so much of the parenting phase has been about the kids, and you know, the communication has been about the kids. And now all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, look, you're still here. That's cool.
And I like you.
Yeah.
And I want to spend time with you.
And what do we do now? Like, let's go do something together or not do something together. Like, I don't know how many times like we have, I don't know, these stupid little routines where like he wants to smoke a cigar. So we sit outside, have a cocktail and like play Roomy Cube and smoke a cigar. Not me, but you know what I mean? Like we're just, I don't know, like not even leaving our house, but still just connecting. Like it's really interesting. We haven't done that in, I don't even know when the hell last time we did that was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you one thing it does to me that is interesting. I'm saying this out loud. I'm observing this in front of you publicly. Sometimes it makes me feel like needy. So I have to, because I'm not used to needing anything. You know what I mean? I don't need anything. And then sometimes when I miss Bert, like he's been gone for 24 hours and I've really missed him. And it's making me a little emotional. And I think the emotional piece of it is the vulnerability that comes with needing something, right? And so if you look forward in your life, this next phase of life, it is very realistic, not for our personal relationship, but because of our age, for people to split up, for someone to have a health problem, for something to happen, you know? And I've never been a fearful person. I don't think I'm fearful now per se, but I have this little piece of me. This sounds stupid, but it feels very weakened by that. Does that make sense?
Yes, I relate to this so much.
You do?
Yes, it's the it's not the weakened, but it's like, it's vulnerability. You're allowing yourself to be more vulnerable by reinvesting in the relationship, I think, because you have to, like, just to get things done, to get our kids, like, to keep them alive, like to get them to all their doctors and dentists and specialists and, you know, and learning things.
Detention.
Just to do all of this stuff. And we've all been very invested in our schools and all of the volunteering and the Girl Scouts. And just to get through the day, there's been like, for me, I think for a while, there was like a little bit of remove. I've always been, you know, we've always loved each other. My husband and I have a great relationship, but there was like a little detachment, I think, in the sort of hands-on parenting thing of just like, okay, getting to the end of each day, getting everybody fed.
Yeah.
And so the reinvestment phase of the relationship, it is vulnerable. It's a vulnerability that we haven't really encountered since like for a lot of years, because we've all been married for a lot of years.
Right.
So
it's very complex. And I think for several reasons. One is this sounds really superficial and vain, but my body is not what it was the last time I was invested in Bert in this way, right? I look like a 52-year-old woman. I look great for 52. Seriously. But when you're like, hey, sexy man, there's part of me that goes, are you fucking kidding me? That is so foolish that you are flopping around with all your flappy biceps or triceps and being like, hey, sexy guy, there's no way he's going to go, oh yeah, I want that. But it's not true.
It's not true. Right.
But it's an insecurity that I've never really had before, right? And when we were younger and I was feeling this way about Bert, I was completely secure in what I looked like physically and why he would be attracted to me physically. And I think Isla is downstairs and I hope she's not watching this on the television down there. But anyway, it is an interesting thing to process. You have to kind of, or at least I do, I have to not listen to that voice who's not confident. Whereas when I was younger and we were dating, I was very confident in those places. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's such a that's another piece of vulnerability that you have to just kind of.
Aging is vulnerable.
Aging is so fucking sucks. It sucks so bad. Yeah, it's really vulnerable. But it's just been really fascinating to watch, to try and observe myself in this transitional period, you know, and to try not to take some of my feelings too seriously. Does that make sense? Because I feel like I've never been a reactive person, and all of a sudden I'm having feelings that maybe aren't necessarily reactive, but they sure aren't logical. And I've always been so logical. Does that make sense? So it's got to be coming from some kind of vulnerability,
or hormonal thing, potentially.
Could be hormonal. I mean, we all know menopause makes you emotional, makes you have mood swings, or not for everybody, but for some people, it does make you emotional. And part of that just makes me feel very weak, which is it's got to be some survival piece of me not having any vulnerability, and that's how you survive. But I feel very vulnerable in a lot of things lately. And part of me is enjoying it, and part of me is not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's a change. So again, any change is sort of like, it just rocks your boat, you know?
It does. I think part of it will make me a more whole person. Bert's always said to me, I don't need anything. And sometimes it makes him feel not needed, you know? And of course I need my husband, of course. But I know what he means.
Yeah. My therapist always says, okay, you know, let your husband do that for you. It builds their testosterone. They need to feel needed. I'm like, okay.
It builds their testosterone.
Yeah.
So taking out the garbage builds testosterone? Oh my God.
Fantastic.
You finally found a way to sell it to him.
It's the fountain of youth right there in the garbage. That's hysterical. I didn't know that. The feeling needed builds our testosterone. But anyway, I don't know. I feel very odd at the moment. Still good in my skin, but odd, like I'm in a new place.
I don't know if this will make you feel any better, but one thing that helps me with the body vulnerability thing of like being suddenly this 51-year-old and like going, oh, he saw me in my 20s and I was like looking great.
Yes.
I think, you know what? His eyesight is not what it once was. And so I just imagine myself with like a nice little like sheen of like
a filter.
Yeah, a nice little filter.
Yeah.
The edges are blurry, so everything looks like it's supposed to.
Right.
So well done.
That's hysterical. That's really funny. What do you think as we approach this empty nest era? What do you think are things that you will do then that you don't do now? Anything? Will you travel more? Will you eat out more? Will you walk around the house naked more? Will you take baths together? I mean, because part of me, here's part of, I think this is the other thing I was going to say and I forgot it and now it's come back. I grew up with a mom who was hypersexual, right? She wore her vagina as a hat, right? And so I was always very aware of that around my kids. Not that you should, you know what I mean? I was just very aware.
Want to be that.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be that. I wanted to be the mom that looked like a mom, you know, not a mom that looked like a sex pot.
Yes.
I didn't want that. It made me so uncomfortable to have a mom that was the sexiest person in the room. Not that a mom shouldn't be sexy, but that it was so over the top for what I it was so over the top with my mom that I just wasn't going to do that with my kids, you know? And so I wonder now, I sometimes, I know when Bert and I are like snuggling on the couch or something, our girls are like, that is gross. And I'm like, we're just like cuddling, watching a movie and we're not doing anything crazy. I wonder if I went a little too far. My pendulum went a little too far to be like, you know, we're like buddy that kiss sometimes instead of, hey, we snuggle and watch TV and nothing shady's going on here. We're just like cuddled up. We hold hands from time to time. But I'm very much like back into holding hands with Bert and that kind of stuff. It's really odd to watch my kids process it. I think sometimes
I think kids just process it that way anyway.
You do?
I do. I think kids are like, ew, those are my parents. Stop it. Even though it's like literally nothing.
Yeah, totally.
Right? I don't think your pendulum swung too far. I think that's just where kids are.
Okay, good.
Because you don't ever want to see your parents in that context.
Well, my kids were totally grossed out when we went out to dinner for our anniversary a few years ago. And Richard is a toast man. Like he gives a toast for every occasion. Everybody always asks him to give the toast, like for the family things. And so he started giving a toast about, you know, your mom, this. And I took a picture of the moment that he was giving a toast because Camille just looked like just so disgusted. And Vivian was laughing, but just like covering her face. And it's one of my favorite pictures because there he is like talking on, your mom is wonderful. And so they were grossed out by that. And that was nothing sexual whatsoever. Good. Yeah.
Makes me feel better. Good. Good. So what are you going to do is, if anything, different when you have an empty house and it's just two adults? Anything?
I don't know, but you're making me think about it. I mean, I'm going to take some time to process this.
Okay,
I'll get back to you the last week of July.
Okay.
For the next book club.
Excellent.
No. It's going to take you till September. You're going to need a minute. Like, let's be honest.
No, you're right.
Having been through it, I'm pretty sure we can say you need a minute.
It'll take you a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
I don't know. I can tell you what I've already started noticing, right? When I'm in a hotel with Bert, I sleep in like a t-shirt and no pants. And I always sleep, I mean like underwear, but I don't wear like bottoms. You know, I'll just wear one of his t-shirts. And that's always made me like, what if I had to get up in the middle of the night with the girls? And what if we had to run out in the middle of an earthquake? And I always like wear this whole pajama set at home. And I was like, I just don't enjoy that. I think I've been doing that my whole life just to be dressed like a mom, even in sleep. I'm too freaking literal for everything sometimes. I'm looking forward to that being a little looser. Like, I'm ready to I love to skinny dip. I've always loved to skinny dip. I used to skinny dip at our lake house all the time. Well, I'm not going to skinny dip with my kids at home because that's weird.
Yeah.
But I'm totally going to skinny dip, and that has with or without Bert. I've always loved that. And I'm like, I can't wait to do that again. I can't wait to shit, I left such and such in the dryer. I'm just going to walk there naked. I don't ever do that. Yeah. You know, the naked piece, I've never been naked in front of my kids like that. But I don't mind myself naked. Not really. I mean, not like I'm going to walk through the house naked to get the towel out of the dryer. Not like that. Oh, do you do that? Well, my mom did clean the house naked, and it made me really.
Oh my God! Yeah, I would never clean that. But yeah, I would walk through the house like in my underwear, like not totally butt naked.
No, I walk through my underwear.
Oh, okay, like in your underwear.
Naked.
Okay,
I'm talking as the Lord made you.
Yeah, no, they don't need to see that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they've seen me naked. Like I'm sure they've seen me naked.
Of course.
Okay,
but it's not on display.
Yeah, no.
Just the freedom of being like, you know what? I'm going to walk out the back porch and jump in the pool.
I do have one quirk that is not to do with nudity, but I tend to take off my bra at the dining room table.
I can get behind that quirk.
You know what I mean? Like just like under my clothes. So I just extract it from.
And then you go, wah, 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 wah.
I will launch it over to the couch.
Yeah.
And so, I do remember recently getting dressed and going, where are all my bras? And Richard was like, think about it.
Think about it.
I went out and I was like, oh, sure enough, there was one in the dining room and there was one in the living room. That was like, that doesn't usually happen. But it's like, seriously, you get to a certain point in the day and it's like, why in the hell am I wearing a bra?
Yes.
Richard's like, why haven't you problem solved this by now? He's like, why do you even wear a bra at all? And I'm like, oh, just stop. Like, just.
What is wrong with you? Richard, you clearly don't understand. They would be at my knees without a bra, okay? Over time, they'd be at my knees.
I'm not going to school, like, pick up without a bra.
No.
Like,
no, nor I.
yeah.
Anyway. Do you have anything you're looking forward to, just the two of you?
I don't know. I mean, I would love for us to be able to like just travel a little bit, like not even like big trips, but like the idea of just going away for the weekend. You know, like we don't do that often. But I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. My husband needs to stop working. That would actually make things a lot easier. But
stop working as much.
As much. Yes.
As much.
But I would love to do that. Like we have had this like wine tasting thing. I have rescheduled it 6 times.
Oh my God.
That we have not gone to. It's like an hour away. It is like this cool, like whatever. And
wait, where is it?
I don't know. It's like some wine tasting in like this cave area. It's like near Temecula-ish.
Okay.
We've had this trip and like, we don't even have to stay overnight. Like just go for the wine tasting. It could be like a day-long trip. And 6 times I've rescheduled it. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why can't we just go one of these days?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how fun would that be? Just to go wine tasting for an afternoon. It's like a cheese and wine, like whatever.
I'll go with you.
Oh, okay, thank you. My husband clearly is not coming with me.
Screw Steven. We don't even like him.
Exactly. He doesn't even like wine.
There you go.
You know, just stuff like that. Like I would love to just like, I don't know, like 6 months ago, we drove to Santa Barbara for the day, went to the salt caves or like whatever. I'm like, why do we not do this more often?
Totally.
Like it doesn't have to be like, oh, we're traveling to Europe or whatever, but like all of that kind of stuff is fun. Like just poking around, like strolling through downtown Santa Barbara, holding hands, like stupid shit like that we just don't do that much.
Yeah, I agree.
Will be fun.
Bert and I had an overnight in Santa Monica a couple weeks ago, just one night. And I was like, that was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Went to dinner, drank too much wine, walked upstairs because we didn't have to drive home.
Yeah.
And we were at the beach. We don't live at the beach. And we felt like we may as well have been, you know, way somewhere else, way far away. It was lovely. I'm looking forward to some of that too. We'll see what it brings, right?
Yeah.
Last day of the year song brought up all this. I'm so bummed. I got 2 more, one tomorrow and one next year. Oh, wowza.
It's crazy, right?
It is crazy. Anyway, tiny, beautiful things.
Tiny, beautiful things.
For October, July.
For, whatever. Cheryl Strayed?
Cheryl Strayed. Tiny, beautiful things.
Tiny, beautiful things.
Awesome. I'll send you a book, Kirsten. Do you like the book? Do you like getting the book or do you like Audible? I can't send you an Audible though.
Yeah, I like both, but I think I like the book.
I like the book.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks, but it's usually during the school year that I listen to.
You're driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like listening to memoirs on audiobook because usually the author wrote
when
it.
It's the actual author reading it. Yeah.
I don't really like reading novels or fiction.
Yeah, it depends. Occasionally there's a really good
it really depends,
reader.
right?
Yeah.
Some are great and some you're like, this was such a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to interpret it myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
With a novel, with my own imagination.
Yes.
But a memoir, I think is great on audio.
I started, there's this one audiobook actor who, like a voice actor who I started recognizing her voice on different ones, and she drives me nuts. I cannot listen to her.
I thought you were going to say she's amazing.
I know.
No, to the point where like I had to look up who read this because I don't want to listen to anything else.
Yeah.
From now on, I will only read the book if she is the option. And I looked her up thinking, how does this woman get all these jobs? Oh, it turns out she's won all sorts of awards. So don't listen to me. Apparently lots of people love the way that she reads books. I can't stand it. She does a lot of where she talks about this, Leanne, and then she'll go, yeah. And it was really interesting, I thought. So it's like this sort of quirky, like breathy sort of, I don't know. She drives me nuts. But
Does
she's
she like sort of act it out?
She's just, I don't know, just reading these books. But she's an award-winning voice actor. And
Well, we hate her.
audiobook
Screw her.
author.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I have no idea what you're talking about, but
Screw her.
I don't think I would like that either.
No. Not okay.
Not okay. She's fired. Yeah, I don't think I would like that either. I think I just like the book to be read.
Yeah.
You know, no affectation.
But I agree with you. A memoir, when it's a memoir, then you're hearing the actual person's voice. And so they know what to put emphasis on because it's their story.
Exactly.
I love that one. All right. Well, thank you for another great book club, another great discussion about life. I think it's a good discussion about life.
Yeah.
I miss podcasts like that where we have deep thoughts. Maybe we should just come have a deep thoughts with Cathy and Kirsten. Right? Maybe that's our new series. Deep thoughts. With Cathy and Kirsten.
In a very breathy voice.
Exactly. Where we pause for no reason and continue.
And have another deep thought.
Like that? Like your voice. Yes. Maybe we should start doing one deep thoughts. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for having deep thoughts today. See you in July.